Mason Hill Cattle. Premium Wagyu beef. The good stuff.
Hey, Wagyu Jason here with Mason Hill Cattle. Just thought I would take a couple minutes to talk about the beef that we offer, the process that we offer as far as shipping to your door, and then kind of comparing against some cuts that you would get at the supermarket. Now, there's a lot of surprise in the fact that we can take a beef and ship it to somebody's door. The nice thing about Mason Hill Cattle is we only ship premium Wagyu beef. So when you order from Mason Hill Cattle, you're gonna get, an A3 to an A5 grade steak. When you go to the supermarket, you don't know what you've got. You don't know if you're getting beef or if you're getting lamb. It's a red steak, right? In all seriousness, there is a grading scale that's out there by the USDA, which we're fond fans of because the USDA, they regulate everything that every farmer can do to be able to put a product into a supermarket or online. So USDA is great. With USDA regulations, they have different grades of beef. Today, we're gonna kind of look at some of those different grades of beef. I'm gonna be as real and honest as I can. I'm gonna show the exact packages we got from the exact locations we bought them from, and then I'm gonna show a little bit of Mason Hill Cattle. I just picked one random steak from our shipping inventory, which is right behind you there, which is where all of our freezers and refrigerators are at. And knowing that everything goes in there that meets a certain criteria that's at the Mason Hill Cattle level, that guarantees that everything that goes out the door is also going to meet that same level. So when I say level, I talk about grade quality. When it comes to grade quality, we talk about the entire beef. On the cow itself, the ribeye is along the backside of the cow. That is actually the one muscle that is graded for the entire beef. So if you hear of something that's prime or something that's choice, or in the Wagyu world that's an A5 or whatever, that's all based off that one muscle across the back of the cow, which is known as the ribeye. It's the top of the ribs and it's at the top of the back of the cow, and that is what a USDA inspector would grade every single carcass that comes through a butchering facility for quality. Now, this has nothing to do with, is it sanitary, was it grain fed, was it grass fed? It has nothing to do with that. A grass fed animal could grade out as good as a grain fed animal could grade out. However, they're both going to be inspected at the USDA facility for cleanliness and or to prevent any kind of disease or something like that. When it gets to the retail level, that's when we start looking at grading it for quality versus grading it for health inspections. So today all we're going to do is talk quality, and we're only going to talk about the ribeyes on different beef. Now, we've got 5 different options here. 4 of them are from the local markets here in Portland, Oregon. One of them is from the freezer I seriously just pulled out. It's still frozen, to be honest with you. So let's get right into it. Let's talk a little bit about it. At the end of this segment, if you actually do like what we do, masonhillcattle.com, you can buy our beef. There are some local areas here in Portland where you can buy our beef. But masonhillcattle.com, select the ribeye or a brisket or whatever it is you want. That's where you can pick it up at. So super easy. Let's see, should we get into the most graded or the lowest graded? I'm gonna go with the grass-fed option. We got this from our local butcher shop. This is a grass-fed steak. Let's get into it. I'll just cut this right open. We'll just get right into what I wanted to show you today, which really, grading and diet is up to personal choice. So your choice of wanting a grass-fed beef or my choice of wanting a grass-fed beef may be the same, may be different. But today, I just want to be a neutral party and talk about the different quality level of beef. And what can get into the quality level of beef could be the genetics of the beef, which is what we have in the Wagyu world. Could get into the feed program. Are they grass-fed? Are they grass-fed grain finished? Are they grass-fed oat finished? Are they, grained their entire life? Every farm is going to have their own trade secret, and I can't give up all of our trade secrets, but what I can tell you is that we do run grain through our cattle for their entire life, from the time they get weaned until the time that we actually harvest. And then for our mother cows, they continually get grain every day of their life. There's a we've actually had a nutritionist come in and break down our product and what our goals are and set up a feed formula and a feed plan that is proprietary to our Wagyu beef. So pretty special, but they are on grass and they are on grain or a grain supplement type feed program their entire life. This one we have right here today, wrapped up in some nice beautiful butcher paper. This is a grass-fed beef, and I don't know if it's Angus or Hereford or what it is, but this is what you would get. Nice looking steak. I mean, the fat's really nice and white. It means it's a very healthy animal. This one probably wasn't on grain its entire life. Excuse me, on grass its entire life. If it was on grass its entire life, a lot of this fat cap here on the top, that would actually be more of a yellow pigment rather than the white pigment that it is. So a nice looking steak. As you can tell, there's just no marbling. And it's because of what the feed program has gone into this beef, and then also what the farmer chooses for genetics. I'm not really 100% sure of what they use, but I do know this is a grass-fed and it's an oat finished beef. This would be what's considered a select grade beef. Select would be the amount of marbling in here, which is nearly 100% red meat with a fat cap on the backside. So this would be a grain finished, a non-grain finished beef. But what you can see from this nice steak is that this here is the ribeye. And as we go forward, you're gonna see that this ribeye starts getting more and more and more marbled as the grades of beef go up. But for right now, this is a great looking grass-fed beef. It's more of a select line. So that's one. This next one, same butcher shop, we went down to today, and this happens to be from a local farm here in Oregon, and I know this farm pretty well. Great outfit, really, really good quality beef, to be honest with you. They take theirs more to the choice spectrum when it comes to USDA butchering, which is what their bread and butter is, and it's a great tasting steak with good marbling in it. But let's go ahead and open up this ribeye. I'm gonna try and get rid of some of the sheen that's on it there. But as you can see, if we look at this ribeye, this must be from the other side of the cow, but we also still have the fat cap that's up here. This is actually the real fat cap where you wanna eat on this. I mean, goodness gracious, this is amazing. But then we have the ribeye here in the center. So you can see on that steak there, the marbling is getting to be a little bit more intense. This would be a choice grade steak, grain finished for sure. Great quality steak. Really, really beefy in flavor, which is I think what this ranch really shoots to do. So again, great looking steak. This would be a choice grade steak. We move on to the next thing. This comes from a large retailer that we're all very familiar with. You can see in the very bottom here, it's actually a choice steak package, never even been opened. We'll open it up and see what kind of steaks we got here. I'm gonna have to be a little careful. This one's pretty juicy. A little bit of blood in the container, but that's okay. So if we look at this one, again, this is a choice steak that comes from a local gigantic company named Costco. Great steaks, really good beef. I don't know if it's grain or not. I would assume it would be. But this is a ribeye from Costco that's a choice grade steak. Again, you can see the ribeye is right here. It's kind of ventured over into this side to where the rib cap has been trimmed off a little bit on this one, but that rib cap right there would be absolutely delicious. And then this is the ribeye that we would judge from. I can tell you this beef was definitely over 1,000 pounds hanging. This is probably more like 1,200-1,300 pound hanging beef, gigantic beef. I can tell that by the size of the ribeye. So choice grade steak. I'll compare that to the other one that I know for sure is a choice grade, and that's what they both would look like. This is the local farm here. This is a Costco steak. Both great steaks. Definitely for the beef flavor lover, that's right up in your wheelhouse. Before I cut this one open, the next package we're looking at here, this is actually a prime steak. So all these steaks in here are prime. Great quality. Again, it's going to be very similar beef to what we have in the other packages as far as, mass produced and not really knowing much about where it comes from or how it was processed or how it was finished. But I got to assume that this is probably something that would be probably grain finished, and that's how they get the grading out of it. But if we just pull the first one out here, this is the the rib eye, but this does not have the rib cap or anything else with it. So this specific cut is just the rib eye. In comparison, if we took this steak that has the rib cap here, this would be the rib eye, only the eye portion of that steak. They probably do it to save cost, or maybe they do something else with the rib cap. They probably package it and sell it separately because it's delicious. This here is the prime grade beef steak ribeye from Costco. Again, marbling's really good. You can start to see the actual marbling from a distance. If we compare this against Select, I mean, you're really big difference. And I wouldn't say it's only the color. I would say it's the marbling is all we're looking at today. So this would be a choice, or excuse me, this would be a prime ribeye from Costco. Would be delicious. Marbling's pretty good. I mean, I got to give it to them. They consistently sell this in their store for, you know, $20, $30 a pound. I think they do a really good job with the product. What we have from Mason Hill Cattle, I'm just trying to get some of the ice off of it because this is a frozen steak. I wanted to show you what you can expect if it were to come to your door from Mason Hill Cattle. We got it cleaned up pretty good. So here's a ribeye. If you look at this ribeye, it is totally different in marbling than the rest of the steaks that you'd seen. As you can see through here, the heavy marbling, the rib cap right along here, which is the most delicious part, the marbling on that is just incredible. So on something like this would be considered an A5 Wagyu beef. Maybe a little bit more towards A4 to A5. Here at Mason Hill Cattle, all we sell is A3 to A5. So your steak would look something like this in every order, or it could be a little bit more heavily marbled. If we look at some of the specs here, this is a little bit more finer marbling. That's really hard to do. This stuff here, a lot of this is from the feed program, a lot of the fatty parts that you can see. These small speckled bits, which is what we really want to get, a lot of that's genetics. And you can't just make that with amazing feed. You have to have good feed, you have to have a very relaxed environment for your cattle, and then you have to have really good genetics. So this is a world-class steak. I mean, we win a lot of competitions, and every comp we've been in, we've been in the top 10 95% of the time. Oh, excuse me, 100% of the time of everything we've entered. 95% of the time we've been in the top 5 in the nation in state competition, or quality of state competitions, which are graded by the folic acid, the omega-3s and omega-6s, the marbling, which would be what we're talking about today, which is from Select all the way up to, you know, A5, and then tenderness. And Mason Hill Cattle, we do really well in those competitions, and we win quite a few as well. It's really exciting to put our Wagyu beef up against, you know, somebody else's and say, well, this is what we can do at our ranch. You know, what do you got at yours? And there's going to be some that win in the marbling. There's going to be some that win in the flavor. There's going to be some that win in the tenderness. When it gets to the actual chemistry, like folic acid and the omegas and like the real health benefits, that's where we try and be the top tier if we can. We know that if the animal is healthy and happy, then when it comes time to actually have a steak, that we know that the flavor is going to be absolutely incredible. So this would be an A4, probably more an A5, A4 steak. And we go to an A3, which would be just about as much marbling. To get into more detail, we would get into the BMS, which is what they do a lot of in some stuff. It's a different way to measure the fat content. But I just want to kind of point out what you would be able to get at Mason Hill Cattle. So my objective here was to kind of stack these on the board and give you a real show of what these different steaks would look like all together on one board. And so, mind you, the only frozen one, which is probably a major disadvantage as far as quality goes to show you, is the Mason Hill. And I did that because I wanted to show you exactly what you would get. You would get any of these fresh steaks from a supermarket. Well, when we ship it to your door, that's where you would get this Mason Hill Cattle. So this is what we're looking at. I think that you can see a pretty big quality difference in all those steaks. The Mason Hill is here at the top, and then the prime is right below it, and then the far side over there is the Select, and then the Choice, and then a Choice below that as well. So big differences in what we have here. I hope you enjoyed all the information that I put on the board, pun intended. We're gonna go through and I think we're gonna probably have to go through and cook these and then taste them and see what happens. So for right now, I just wanted to explain to you that there are differences in the beef that we buy, and we got to be a little bit aware of what we have to purchase. And so when it comes to ordering at Mason Hill Cattle, we take all the guesswork out of it. You will get an A4 or an A5 or sometimes even an A3 steak delivered to your door, and you can purchase it at masonhillcattle.com. It's a pretty easy process. Pay with a credit card or PayPal or whatever it is that you need there. Anything over $200, we'll ship that directly to your door on second day air. It will arrive frozen or partially thawed, and then you can just throw a little tiny bit of salt and pepper, hot cast iron pan, or maybe even on the Green Mountain Grill, wood pellet barbecue for a little bit, and then in the cast iron pan, just sear it real fast, take it medium rare, and absolutely enjoy it. Until next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Order now at www.masonhillcattle.com.